Day tonight has already revealed how holiday homes at the Southshores complex built on a swamp in Normanville are riddled with defects, but now it seems it may be a lot worse than anyone imagined. Whistleblowers claim shortcuts could place dozens of villas at risk of sinking and flooding. Frank Pangallo continues his investigation.
Well, this whole area could sink.
So we've got electrical issues, safety issues.
Okay.
We've had it for 6 years, mate, and you won't do anything.
Not mention
Why?
before.
I don't understand it.
Have you seen the damage to everybody's villa?
No, I haven't.
No,
Recently.
no, you haven't.
No.
Recently.
Why don't you go and take a look? It's the $450 million South Shores resort built on top of a swamp at Normanville, and it's sinking in a mire of defects for many families who poured their life savings into buying holiday homes.
If you've got a legitimate issue, a genuine building defect, I said I'm happy to attend to it. I said in relation to items such as rusting door handles or a loose door handle, you've got to remember that these are...
Talking about that.
It's been 3 months since we first revealed the dire concerns of several of the owners.
It's a nightmare for us. We're living it every day.
It's the big structural stuff that is the real concern for us.
As you can see here, they've obviously punched a hole in the wall and just done a dodgy repair on it.
Look at this, Frank. Doesn't comply.
After heavy rain, water pools. It pours through roofs, windows, doors and light fittings. Ceilings have collapsed and timber floors have lifted. A firewall between two villas doesn't even meet the building standards code. And there may be a lot more.
It's just a nightmare whenever we come down because, we end up mopping up water, finding issues.
At one villa on the lagoon, evidence of sinking foundations. And there's an inadequate stormwater drainage system that for years hasn't complied with what was approved for the flood-prone site.
If I did not carry out the building work in accordance with the Australian Standards of Building Regulations at the time, come and get me. Fine. I'm happy with
An
that.
engineer has said
I'm happy.
you
No,
haven't,
no.
particularly with the box gutters. Doesn't meet the standard. Well, Anthony Catinari may well come to rue that promise after we reveal more disturbing shortcomings at South Shores, the first major project by Commercial and General, which now claims to be Adelaide's biggest developer and is in line to win the tender to redevelop the Amy Stadium at West Lakes.
This was actually in the building that all these shortcuts were taken. They knew about them, but they just wanted to save money.
Many a times I tried to, I rang them with about concerns about what was going on the building site.
Are you proud of the quality of the villas?
Yes, I am. Yes.
You are?
Yes.
So
Mr. Catinari and his business partner Jamie McLurg, who lives in this rambling multi-million-dollar mansion he built at North Adelaide, flies helicopters for a hobby and boasts to lawyers that his time is worth $5,000 an hour, deny there are any major problems there. Yet for the past 7 years, they've blamed the owners.
Anthony, the buck stops with you.
No, hang on, guys.
You and the developer.
You don't take any
responsibility. I wasn't you, it was somebody else.
Now tradies and contractors who worked on the project have come forward to spill the beans. Maintenance, they say.
No, it wasn't built the right in the first place. No, maintenance has nothing to do with this. This is the way it was built.
Rod Steiner was a civil contractor preparing the construction site. The alarm bells rang for him when he saw what was happening at the lagoon.
But they moved the whole lagoon that way. And so all that was taken off that side was just all sludge. Should have been taken off site.
And it wasn't?
No, it wasn't taken off.
What happened to it?
It was all used on fill under these buildings here.
Reused?
Yes.
Would you, as an experienced earth mover?
No, and no one would. I mean, engineers wouldn't allow it.
Any fill used for compacting a large site such as this must meet stringent specifications. While Rod also recalls seeing truckloads of good quality material, much of what was used was the silt from the lagoon.
If you dried it out over a period of months, and it would take months, and then compacted, it still wouldn't come up to the specification of compaction testing for fill, because as soon as water gets in it, then it will dissolve.
The impact it would have on these buildings?
Now, the only reason these buildings aren't sinking now is because the water in this lake is being kept low. In other words, the water table is being kept down. Now, as soon as that water, for some reason or other, starts to rise up and gets into this fill that can't be consolidated, compacted properly, then these, I would expect that these buildings would, the piers wouldn't hold the buildings.
And that wasn't all he claims he saw that worried him. To save on fill, levels on some areas of the site are much lower than they should be.
This whole development here should be at least 18, maybe 20, 21 inches higher than what it is. Because when you consider that in an event of a big flood, and there's a catchment area, we could be standing in 2.5 metres of water before it would flow anywhere.
Rod says he also witnessed pressure pipes for water incorrectly fitted in this part of the resort and believes they may have caused recent pipe bursts.
Well, instead of using proper bends, moulded bends, remember this is high pressure pipe. This is supplying the whole of the development. Instead of using bends, moulded bends, they were using crowbars to kink the pipe to get it around the corner.
Well, you can't do that, can you?
No, because you're doing two things. One is you're weakening the material. Secondly, you're restricting the flow, so the pressure builds up back beyond it, and you're putting then pressure on the joints.
Legal in General, through their spin doctors, deny site levels were lowered. They sent us documents showing compression tests were done on the site and met the standard required. But when we asked for the diagrams with exact locations that should be attached to those tests, we heard nothing.
You're trying to insinuate that levels in that are correct, which is incorrect.
It's not right, according to your excavator, they don't. Dan Kaplan, who had the painting contract on the project, says it's costing dearly.
Obviously it's cost me money, close to $140,000. It's cost run my business right down, and also it's cost involved my health, which I had a heart attack, and since that, my health hasn't still been too good, and that's basically my main concern, my health.
Dan walked out on the job after Commercial and General fell behind in their progressive payments. No cash flow, he had to pay his workers and his materials out of his own pocket. The stress proved too much for him.
I've always been a hard worker, and you build up your house and family and all that, and all of a sudden, you blink of an eye, you can lose that just through someone that has got more money and can afford to drag things out and fight you better than the smaller guy.
Dan says he has long written off the $139,000 he was owed. Commercial and General deny they owe Dan anything, accusing him of breaching his contract.
That painter went into administration during the project.
Why was that?
Because he wasn't being paid.
No, of course not.
Some of the villa owners are now mounting a class action against Commercial and General Projects, the deregistered, then liquidated arm of the company behind the development. Victor Stratejo says little, if anything, has happened since our last story.
Basically fobbing us off, hoping that we will sort of get tired of chasing them and we'll just give up. And that's not going to happen.
A committee that's supposed to represent all villa owners won't invite some of the outspoken litigants to its meetings. So we went with them to one a few weeks ago, attended by Mr. Catinari, who owns one of the villas. It got heated.
Just let it address the water problems we've got in our garages, for Christ's sake.
Mr. Catinari and his partner Mr. McLurg won't commit to an independent assessment of the villas.
Why don't we get an independent assessment, and if the assessment comes out and the villas are fine, we'll all walk away and it's over. But if it's not fine, you'll fix it and have an independent assessor assess them, and you will not go away. You will not leave them alone until they're signed off by an independent assessor to say they're 100% compliant and they're okay.
Frank, I'll go up there tomorrow.
You will?
I'll be up there tomorrow.
What, you're going to see everybody's house?
I'll go to everyone's house tomorrow.
Well, Mr. Catinari did go there, yet only visited one villa. But there's been little action since. In the meantime, he faces an investigation from ASIC over his alleged conduct as a director of the liquidated company.
But someone has to take the blame for it, and it's the people that were in charge of this development.
These people have really serious grievances.
Okay. Frank, thank you for your time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Anthony.
Hopefully we move on.
And Commercial and General Projects, the liquidated company, is also being sued to recover repair costs on another of its projects. Meanwhile, the successful West Lakes tenderer is expected to be announced next week. Frank Pangallo with that report.